welcome everybody to the, I have to bring up my list. We're the 207th now, I believe, Capstone. Let me just make sure that we are getting this information right. That we updated it yesterday. You are the 207th, correct. MCM student to present your capstone. So Sundar will be presenting today. Her supervisor is Professor Mark Stewart. Her second reader is Dr. Alex Sévigny. I'm Dr. Terry Flynn. I'll chair the proceedings today. So just to ensure that we understand how this proceeds, you'll have 25 minutes to present your capstone, after which we'll start with Professor Stewart and a round of questioning. That questioning will last for 25 minutes. Professor Stewart and then Dr. Sévigny, and then I will reserve the opportunity to ask questions as well. And if we have enough time, we'll do another round as well. And if we have more time, then we'll open it up to see if your colleagues would like to ask you any specific questions. At that point, we'll then send everybody out into a breakout room, and the three of us will convene to discuss your capstone. Do you have any questions before we start?
Good.
No? We are recording this for our audience, and we will then begin. So you have, it's 9:03, so around 9:30 you'll be good to go. Okay, over to you.
Thank you so much, Terry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today for my capstone research defense. I'll be presenting my research on leveraging omni-channel strategies to achieve B2B, that is business to business marketing objectives and strategic success. Now, as a marketing professional with 5+ years of experience in lead generation, plus as an MCM candidate, I started researching omnichannel marketing. To deepen my understanding of this subject, I wanted to explore new strategies and just build a stronger career in marketing. I want to note that my presentation includes several acronyms. So for the ease of the listeners, they've been shared in the comments. There's a comment character limit, so I shared how much ever I could, but the rest is attached in my paper. Now, before we jump right into it, let's start by defining what is omnichannel marketing. Omnichannel marketing is a strategy that brings together all the ways a customer engages with a company. So whether through a website, social media, email, or an event, into one seamless experience. So no matter where or how they engage, the message, the service experience feels consistent and connected. Now, my study seeks to bridge the gap between academic research and industry practices while identifying key challenges and barriers that hinder its effectiveness. The study also examines how omnichannel strategies impact critical business metrics such as brand engagement, sales performance, and revenue growth. And I've also explored how communicators can benefit from the omnichannel strategy. At this juncture, I would also like to introduce my hypothesis. B2B companies that implement well-integrated omnichannel marketing strategies will experience significantly higher levels of brand engagement, customer retention, and sales performance compared to those that use less integrated marketing approaches. Now, to set the scene for this research, I will first outline the methodology, providing context on how the study was conducted before I dive into the theoretical frameworks and results. I implemented mixed methods research, which includes a robust literature review with at least 100 references and a qualitative study using semi-structured interviews with 17 marketing professionals from B2B organizations. Now, something to note here is that all these B2B organizations had to have at least 500 employees or more, and they were located in the USA or Canada. The participants belong to various industries, including information technology, insurance, consulting, telematics, and AI. To analyze the data, I used 3 key techniques. First, I applied pattern matching, where I compared interview findings with existing theoretical frameworks. And to track this effectively, I created a detailed Excel sheet mapping key themes from the literature review against the interview responses. Secondly, I conducted thematic analysis, identifying recurring patterns. And to add a data-driven layer to these qualitative insights, I quantified the responses, measuring how often certain themes appeared. This provided a numerical backing to the qualitative findings. Finally, I used triangulation to cross-verify insights from different participants, ensuring a well-rounded and credible analysis. Now, jumping into the literature review, while omnichannel marketing has been extensively studied in the B2C, which is business to consumer context, there is limited research on its effectiveness, implementation, and challenges in the B2B world. As part of my research, I also gathered that a major shift has been observed from multi-channel to omni-channel marketing. What is multi-channel marketing? So this approach uses multiple channels to reach customers, but they operate independently, unlike omni-channel, which brings in a seamless interaction. And a lot of companies want to transition to omni-channel, especially if they want to align their marketing, sales, and customer service teams to enhance that brand engagement and improve revenue growth. A key finding in the literature is how CDPs, or customer data platforms, and AI-driven automation enhances omnichannel marketing by enabling businesses to understand customer behavior and personalize those interactions across channels. But what does all this mean in this B2B world? A typical B2B buyer journey spans multiple touchpoints. So visiting a website or reading an email, attending a webinar, engaging with sales, or just interaction on LinkedIn. The challenge kicks in when you're trying to connect these interactions into a seamless experience rather than treating them as separate events. AI-powered personalization helps by analyzing behaviors like downloading an ebook or watching a demo to tailor follow-up interactions such as sending relevant case studies. Automation takes us a step further by triggering real-time action. For example, and we've all done this, platforms like HubSpot or Salesforce can automatically follow up if we abandon a demo, offering reminders or chatbot support. Now, despite these advantages, many B2B companies struggle with full integration due to internal misalignment. The real challenge isn't just adopting AI and automation, it's ensuring that marketing, sales, and customer service are aligned and using these tools effectively. Now, to analyze how B2B organizations adopt and implement omnichannel strategies, I selected 6 frameworks because they capture the key dynamics shaping the strategy, from innovation adoption, technology integration, customer experience, and revenue alignment. I would like to note that the theories were explored in depth as they serve as a foundational data procurement methodology for this research alongside the interviews. They're the 6, what you see on the screen are the 6 theories. I'll be getting into each one of them now. First is diffusion of innovations, or DOI theory. DOI explains how new ideas, technologies, and strategies spread within an organization and why some companies adopt innovations faster than the others. Originally introduced by Rogers, this theory shows that companies adopt innovations in stages, starting with awareness, then evaluating the benefits, deciding to adopt, implementing, and finally confirming its success. Now, in B2B, omnichannel adoption is slower than B2C. Why is that? I'm clubbing 3 stages that you can see on the screen: relative advantage, complexity, and observability. Now, B2B sales cycles are very long. They involve multiple decision makers and don't show immediate results like personalized e-commerce experiences that we've seen in B2C. Secondly, compatibility. Many B2B companies have separate sales and marketing teams with outdated systems that don't really talk to each other, making integration extremely difficult. Third, trialability. Testing omnichannel strategies is hard because it requires major investments in technology and process alignments. My next theory goes into, it's called personal innovativeness and emotional theory. People often assume that B2B decisions are purely logical, focused only on ROI, efficiency, and cost. But in reality, emotions, personal attitudes, and past experiences shape how decision makers adopt new strategies. Now, this aligns with Taylor's theory, which argues that individuals with high personal innovativeness, which are people who are more open to change, experimentation, are more likely to champion omnichannel strategies, as opposed to those who are risk averse or emotionally tied to existing methods. My next theory is omnichannel and integrated marketing communications, or IMC. IMC is the process of unifying a brand's messaging to make it consistent across all channels to reach its target audience. Now, this framework is very essential because while omnichannel marketing and IMC share common goals, they differ in execution. IMC ensures brand consistency, whereas omnichannel marketing focuses on integrating digital and real-time interactions. There's no competing here. We're not talking which is better than the other. In fact, companies that integrate both will actually succeed. My next theory is marketing technology. Now, technology adoption is in the heart of successful omnichannel strategies. And as part of this theory, I chose two concepts, TAM model and IS success model. Now, large-scale omnichannel adoption depends on how well businesses integrate new tools. And that's where technology acceptance model, which is TAM, comes in. What are the key drivers? Perceived usefulness and ease of use. If a sales team actually sees value in a system and finds it intuitive, they're more likely to adopt it. But adoption alone isn't enough. The IS success model ensures that technology actually delivers by focusing three things. System quality. How well does this new software integrate into our existing systems? Information quality. What is the accuracy of the data that's coming out of this new system? And service quality. How well does this enhance the customer interaction or experience overall? My fifth theory is customer journeys, and this is extremely important for my research because a seamless omni-channel strategy depends on understanding how customers interact across different touchpoints. Now, mapping these journeys and integrating customer data platforms, customer relationship management tools, automation tools, just ensures a connected and personalized experience. Finally, my last theory connects marketing objectives and revenue alignment. Now, every marketing effort must ultimately support a business objective. And my research looks at how B2B companies measure omnichannel success. Are they using pipeline growth and conversion rates? Are they aligning sales and marketing or operating in silos? Are they investing in brand engagement but failing to connect it to revenue? Now, these six theories help us understand why omnichannel marketing succeeds or fails in a company. The gaps identified in the literature review and the theoretical models led to the development of three key research questions, which are how and to what extent do omnichannel marketing strategies influence key metrics and brand engagement? RQ2 is how and to what extent do omnichannel marketing strategies align with and support broader business objectives and strategic success? RQ3 looks at how and to what extent do omnichannel marketing strategies impact sales performance metrics. Now, jumping into the research results of my research, my first research question, like I said, explored brand engagement in B2B marketing. It also focused on how it's measured and the most effective channels for engagement. To set the stage, I first asked participants about their primary marketing objectives, and three clear priorities emerged: lead generation, brand awareness, and sales enablement, with over 50% of the marketers emphasizing these are their top goals. Brand awareness stood out as a key driver of engagement. Nearly 47% of the participants highlighted the importance of maintaining a strong, consistent brand identity across channels to build credibility and trust. But brand engagement isn't just about customers. Several participants noted that brand awareness efforts actually help with talent acquisition and engagement with partners and resellers. Now, despite its importance, measuring brand engagement remains a major challenge, and three key issues surfaced. 44% was allocated to inconsistent messaging. Many participants struggle to maintain that unified brand voice across different channels. 32% was allocated to brand differentiation. Standing out is really tough, especially when competitors offer nearly identical products. 24% was allocated to lack of measurement frameworks. Without clear metrics, tracking brand engagement's impact is extremely difficult. As for what is the most effective channel for brand engagement, the results again were very clear. In-person and virtual events were the highest rated channels, with 80% of the participants emphasizing its role in accelerating pipeline opportunities. LinkedIn emerged as the most effective digital tool for brand visibility, targeted advertising, and thought leadership. Now, other channels also came up, like SEO, organic content, email marketing, print media, but their effectiveness varied depending on the industry and the audience. Lastly, and most importantly, 65% of the interviewees stressed the need for dedicated brand teams and clear brand guidelines to maintain consistency. Coming to my RQ2, which examined how omnichannel strategies align with broader business objectives. While we looked at the marketing objectives right now, 80% of the participants emphasized that the following 3 points are key drivers of strategy. 36.8% was allocated to customer centricity. So creating that personalized, seamless experience was top priority. 34.2% was given to operational efficiency. Streamlining processes to reduce friction is again another priority. 29.9% was allocated to long-term strategic goals. Building market leadership and sustainable growth again stands third. A major takeaway was that successful omni-channel implementation requires strong cross-functional collaboration, especially teams like product marketing, product management, strategic communications, legal, etc. In B2B, omni-channel isn't just about the end customer, it also involves channel enablement. So developing strategies to strengthen omni-channel effectiveness was very important, and 60% of the participants emphasized this point. Coming to my third research question that focused on marketing strategies and its impact on sales performance metrics, we've seen that omnichannel strategies can boost sales, but measurement seems to be a major challenge. What are the top roadblocks? Outdated attribution model was given 35%. Data silos at 29%, and difficulty linking marketing and sales outcome at 29%. Now, data fragmentation makes it really hard to get a clear view of the customer journey, which keeps the marketing and sales teams very disconnected. Attribution model is another issue. Many companies still rely on last touch attribution, which only credits that final interaction that a lead or prospect has, like for example, with a website visit, but it ignores everything that led to it. Maybe he came in through a social media ad or through an email or an ad or event, sorry. Another 29% of the participants struggle to connect marketing to measurable revenue. As one of the interviewees actually put it, we are constantly trying to justify marketing ROI. It's a classic challenge, and with tighter budgets, proving impact becomes even harder. Continuing my results for RQ3, omnichannel marketing has a clear impact on sales performance, driven by 3 key enablers. Number 1 being personalization. Over 80% of participants emphasized how tailored content often boosts engagement, conversion rates, and average order value. CRM systems, or customer relationship management tools, also played a crucial role, with 75% of the participants highlighting their impact on lead tracking. Technology was another major factor, with 70% citing AI, predictive analytics, and automation as game changer for sales. Now, looking back at my hypothesis, my prediction was not entirely wrong. B2B companies that adopt omnichannel marketing do experience higher engagement, revenue growth, and customer retention. But just like what we discussed in RQ1, 2, and 3 and the previous slides, the challenges remain. Now, this research uncovered key gaps, which I'm going to repeat now. So fragmented data, inconsistent messaging, lack of personalization, poor ROI tracking. We saw all of this. I brought it up. But all of this hinder lead generation and strategic alignment. And to address these, I propose a 4-part strategy: ABM, or account-based marketing, intent-driven omnichannel marketing, co-marketing, and social selling. Each aims to improve targeting, personalization, and measurable business outcomes. The first one that you see on the screen is account-based marketing, ABM, or account-based growth, ABG. There's also account-based sales and ABE. Account-based marketing has been around for a while, but it was very surprising to see that several large B2B companies still struggle to implement it due to internal silos. Many understand the basics, but it is basically a highly focused strategy where sales and marketing teams work together to create personalized engagement for high-value accounts. So companies often use these targeted account lists and intent data to get the high-value accounts what they want, like real communication, targeted information, etc. The real advantage kicks in when businesses use ABM to personalize outreach and build stronger relationship. And the next natural step is ABG. I'm not going into details about ABS and ABE as they are just branches of ABM, but ABG is important. because it's not just about account acquisition all the time. It also involves sales, marketing, and customer success teams to come together so they can maximize upsell, cross-sell, and retention. Platforms like Sixth Sense, HubSpot help companies analyze intent signals, align teams, and deliver tailored experiences at every stage of the customer journey. Why does all of this matter? In B2B, decision cycles are long. And relationships are what matter the most. So ABM, ABG ensure that every interaction feels relevant, timely, and valuable, leading to higher engagement and ultimately more revenue. Leveraging intent data. So intent data is a game changer. Instead of guessing who might be interested, companies can focus on buyers who are actively showing intent. Either they're visiting your website, they're downloading your content, or researching industry trends. Back in traditional marketing days, finding this data was very tough. But businesses can procure intent data from third-party providers and integrate it in CRM systems, and even use their own website analytics to create content that is more structured, that's more targeted, with better timing. And all of this, again, leads to higher conversion rates. Co-marketing as a growth strategy. Now, co-marketing, again, is a very powerful tool, but often overlooked. Instead of marketing in isolation, companies can partner with non-competing brands that share their audience to co-create content, expand their reach, and build credibility faster. There are 7 key steps to implementing co-marketing, which you can see on the screen. But at its core, it's about aligning goals, leveraging that shared audience, and creating value for both the brand and the customer. Lastly, social selling. Social selling is the process of using social media platforms like LinkedIn or Twitter and industry forums to connect with prospects. You're building that trust, engaging in meaningful conversation that lead to sales opportunities. Social selling is transforming modern sales by replacing outdated cold calls with warm data-driven outreach. It helps sales professionals build credibility, engage with the prospects authentically, and again, drive more deals. This last step is not part of the 4-step strategy that I just shared, but it is the most important. None of these strategies will work without a clear measurement framework. Implementing structured campaign reporting templates ensures that marketing efforts are data-driven, actionable, and aligned with business goals. Now, while this research provided valuable insight, it also came with certain limitations. First, the industry focus was somewhat narrow, as most of these interviewees either came from IT or consulting. A more diverse representation across industries like healthcare, financial services could provide broader perspectives. Secondly, there is no universal definition of brand engagement across companies. Each organization perceives and measures engagement differently. It's very challenging to establish a standard benchmark in that case. Finally, participant recruitment was largely dependent on my professional network. I lead into cohort 16 and the MCM community, as well as my professor's network. So bringing in new voices was a little hard. There is still so much to be explored in the field of omnichannel marketing. Now, when it comes to future research, it could focus on how smaller B2B companies adopt omnichannel strategies, especially when they have budget constraints, or how are they uncovering these cost-effective approaches and tailoring them to their needs. I spoke about the implementation of automation, AI, working with third-party vendors, but understanding its ethical implications is very important, especially at a day and age where AI is continuously shaping marketing strategies. Lastly, a standardized framework for brand consistency that I mentioned in limitations, again, would be needed, and a lot of research is required in that spectrum. How is all of this relevant to communicators? Now, communicators are no longer just crafting messages. We've seen that in the last 2.5 years. They are shaping brand engagement at every touch point, whether it's press release, executive meetings, internal communication, any sort of messaging or media relation. Each interaction reinforces that trust, credibility, and market positioning. My research highlights how communicators can leverage omnichannel strategies to ensure consistency while personalizing messaging for different audiences. By integrating data-driven insights, they can fine-tune storytelling, optimize content performance with UTM tracking, or just align messaging with sales and marketing for greater impact. What is the key takeaway? Communicators have the power to turn engagement into action, transforming brand perception, driving thought leadership, and influencing business success. Finally, a huge thank you to my family, my mom and dad, who are in India, who've logged in, my husband, who has logged in from Everest, and thank you so much for listening to me talk about marketing for the last 6 months. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you to my supervisor, Mark John Stewart, for all his guidance and support throughout my capstone journey. Thank you to my second leader, Dr. Alex Sévigny, and the chair, Dr. Terry Flynn. I truly believe in destiny, and I'm grateful that it led me to learn from such incredible professors. Finally, a huge thank you to my cohort 16. I couldn't have done it without you. I've had the opportunity to learn from each and every one of you, and I'm deeply grateful for that. Thank you, and we're open to questions.
And you did it in 25 minutes. Congratulations. Well done. That's an excellent presentation and very, very insightful issues. So Professor Stewart, it's over to you.
Excellent, and congratulations, Minu. As you know, it's been a journey, and really pleased to see where everything's shaped up at the end of this journey here. Both a compliment and a comment. You've covered a lot of ground. You know, anybody watching this presentation would note how many different ways you triangulated around this topic to kind of validate your core thesis. You know, the utility of omni-channel marketing, and I think that part of it would have been somewhat intuitive. You know, you had a hypothesis that if you're aligning efforts, that they're going to create a better outcome than if they're disjointed. So that part itself may not be too surprising, but having gone through the research, in particular, having talked to a lot of executives in the field, maybe you can share with our audience here a little bit about what might have actually surprised you when you dug deeper and you looked at kind of one level down from the general thesis, and what stood out to you about you know, people who are actually trying to execute omni-channel in the field.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Mark. There were quite a few unexpected, surprising findings, honestly. One was I found out from a lot of interviewees that there is no reporting templates that are being followed. There are two ways to report on campaigns. One is just on a tactical basis, which means how is your email performing? Are you looking at your open rates, click-through rates? How is your social media performing in terms of what are some of the metrics there, like engagement or likes, comments? How is your website performing? And the other side of reporting is the leads itself, because ultimately a lot of companies want to implement campaigns that generate prospects and leads. There are two aspects of that, but what I was very surprised to find is there are no dashboards. There are no reporting templates that a lot of companies follow to understand how their campaigns are working. So there's a clear disconnect because marketing is doing their own thing. They're pushing out content on different channels, but the leads that are coming in through these channels are not going to sales. And sales is doing their own thing. They are getting leads from events and through their own efforts. So there's a clear disconnect. My second unexpected result, I would say, is actually technology isn't the biggest roadblock, but I think alignment is. Because when I went into these interviews, I had the impression that there's just so much noise around marketing right now. There's so many AI tools. There's so many automation systems. There are just new trends popping up every single day. So for marketers, it's very hard to track what these new trends are. But to my surprise, marketers are very open to these new tools, but there's very little alignment internally. So for example, if I'm a marketer and I want to implement a new CRM system in my company, I would go to finance, I would go to legal, I would go to stratcoms, I would go to every other department, but I will not go to sales. And sales is the biggest team that's going to help with the CRM system. So I think there's a lot of misalignment within companies, within departments, and I think that's a big challenge for companies. And I think something that I mentioned in one of my slides was the attribution models are very outdated. And what was very surprising is that they all look at the last touch attribution. They only look at how people come to the website, click on that schedule a demo button, and they speak to a sales representative. They do not look into was it the social ad that sent them to the website? Was it an email? So that attribution model is something that needs to get fixed. And again, a lot of B2B companies are struggling to figure that system out.
Yeah, thank you. You know, those are really good answers, and I think they speak to the inherent complexity of something that's defined as omni-channel, meaning a whole bunch of things, right? So right off the bat, you have a set of vectors that is more complicated than, you know, one channel or one campaign concept. And on top of that, I think you astutely highlight the role that marketing has as a bit of the tip of the spear along with sales for business success. But yeah, because it's one step behind sales, it has a bit more of a challenge in defining how marketing is adding value, right? Because it's not as obvious always as a direct conversion. So I think in highlighting that gap, I mean, you're also presenting an opportunity for marketers and communicators to close the gap by making it more obvious how omni-channel efforts actually contribute to strategic success. And I like the way you ultimately rolled it into your thesis. I know when we first started talking, you know, that was something we really talked about adding on to making sure that it was obvious how not just doing omni-channel for its own sake, but how that would lead to an organization being more successful. So I know part of the motivation for you in this topic was where you're at professionally with your career, right? And wanting to not only advance your career, but think about how you could add value. So with, you know, this thesis having now be reinforced, what is going through your mind about how you might try and, you know, use this to advance what's happening within your company or to advance the industry?
I think as a first step, what I want to do is create an executive summary of my paper and share it with the interviewees, because it was interesting that at the end of every interview, they said, please let me know what the findings are. I would love to know what other B2B companies are doing, and I would love to learn from that. So I think my first step would be creating that executive summary. And I think I would use that in my company as well, because there are certain aspects that we're still trying to understand and figure, for example, ABM, and that natural progression to APG. What does that look like? How can we be more aligned with marketing and sales? How can product marketing come in and help us? So I think that executive summary would be my first step. I also want to increase my voice as a marketer on LinkedIn. So I would want to create bite-sized content that I can share on LinkedIn, again, so I can show my thought leadership and just make my thesis more actionable and accessible to other marketers. Beyond that, I would love to share and present my research at academic conferences that focus on marketing, communications, and business strategy. Something like an American Marketing Association or the AMA with their winter and summer academic conference would be something that I would love to present. But overall, I would like to take the thesis and implement some of the things, the recommendations, especially that I shared, because social selling is something that is not very, that is often overlooked. And that is something that I would love to implement in my company as well. So I'm going to take my recommendations and probably use it in my company and share it with the interviewees who gave me amazing insight for the thesis.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I like that answer because your ability to communicate and articulate, you know, the utility of how to take this breadth of topics that you've brought forward into actionable steps, I think will be very useful. I got a quick last question that might bleed into maybe one of the things that's on Alex's mind. I'm just curious, you brought up AI. To what degree did the interviewees respond, or did it seem like it was obvious that opportunities with AI, I mean, especially to collate large sets of, you know, data and strategies, was it on people's minds? Like, did they talk about it, or was it, you know?
Everybody knows AI, everybody talks about ChatGPT, but there are a plethora of tools out there in the market that can actually benefit marketing teams. I know that some companies have specific teams like marketing operations, that their job is only to research on these new tools and figure out what tool would be best suited for the company, which tool can help accelerate growth and revenue. So there are specific teams, but that percentage of companies would be very small. I think I would say that interviewees know about AI, but they are not particularly sure about how they can help with lead generation, revenue generation. It is still being used right now for, say, brainstorming ideas on ChatGPT or using for images, which I think at this point of time is kind of basic. There are just so many other tools out there that can help. For example, yesterday we had our town hall, and our CEO demoed a tool called Maya by this software called Sesame, if I'm not wrong. It's basically an AI chatbot. You can have conversations with it. Instead of ChatGPT, you can actually talk to it, and it'll brainstorm ideas real time. So I think companies are still struggling to understand how they want to implement AI in their systems and how that can actually help them reap the best benefits. It's still at the nascent stages. I think there still needs to be research about what tools can be implemented.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Back to you, Terry.
Thank you, Professor Stewart. Dr. Sévigny.
Great, thank you. First, a word of congratulations. This was a pleasure to read. I remember the depth of the research you did for the data science course that you took with me, which was very impressive. And this was exceeded that bar. So Mark kind of covered most of my questions. Those were great questions, Professor Stewart. So I actually have a bigger picture question for you. As I was reading through this really well written and data rich project, I was struck by the idea of the connection and maybe missed opportunity of omnichannel marketing as a way of building brand, right? And that sort of brand building as a component of generating sales leads and so forth. So I was wondering if you had, I know this might be speculative because it wasn't kind of speculative.
Alex, you're breaking up.
What?
Yeah.
I missed up. Oh,
Alex,
sorry.
for some reason, you're breaking up. Can you go off camera and then try to do it again?
Yeah. Can you hear me better?
Not really.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Yeah,
while he's doing.
This should be, I switched servers, so
Okay.
it should.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so sorry, I was going on about brand, and I wasted 2 minutes there with my stuff. So I'll just quick question. What do you think the relationship is between, or missed opportunities right now, of brand building and omnichannel marketing?
Great question. Thank you so much, Alex. All the participants, when I asked them, like my first question to all of them was, what is your marketing objective? It was lead generation and brand. But still, there was a gap between that omnichannel and brand, simply because brand awareness or engagement is so varied for each company. For some, it's website and digital engagement. For some, it is social interaction. For some of them, it's just content performance. And then it was very interesting to understand that NPS scores, like Net Promoter Scores or customer satisfaction scores, do not even sit with marketing. They sit with outside of marketing, with either a customer service team or a customer support team. So what I understood finally is that brand is just defined differently in different companies. And that makes it very hard for them to actually measure the success, number one. Number two, there are no specific teams that specifically look at brand guidelines. A lot of companies don't have brand guidelines set out for them. So it is just hitting arrows in the dark. There is no tone, voice, or there is no clear clarity around what the logo should look like. So in those cases, you're simply you're thinking or assuming that your brand is this and you're going with it, you're running with it. So companies firstly need teams that can help identify what the company's brand is. What is it that they want the consumer to perceive about them? What is it they want the internal teams to perceive about them? And then clearly write those playbooks that can be leveraged by marketers. So then the brand is consistent with all the messaging. So omnichannel, yes, can help with lead, but they can also help with brand if there are clear guidelines provided by companies, or like clear guidelines set out for these teams.
Yeah, that's a good answer, and I agree with you. And it leads me kind of to my second answer, and you know, I'm a measurement person, and it's what I'm very interested in, and I love data. And one thing that's again struck me as I was going through and reading your paper was, okay, so how do we measure this, right? Because that, to be honest with you, I'm not an expert on omnichannel marketing. I mean, I know about it, and I've done it, right? But you know, I wouldn't call myself a scholar of it. But my big question would be around weighting, right? Like weights. So, you know, how do you distinguish the difference between, you know, how one channel, say socials, did versus another channel, say, I don't know, maybe traditional, you know, advertising buy, right? And because if you want to have an omni-channel strategy, it implies a holistic understanding of how the strategy is working, right?
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that question of metrics?
I think from what I gathered, there are 10 key metrics, Alex, that interviewees or companies usually measure. And each one is different from the other. You cannot compare a website to a social, or you cannot compare a social to an email, and NPS to CSAT. In fact, some companies also did sentiment analysis,
Right.
social listening. So which looked into brand perception and just positive versus negative mentions. I also realized that some companies do share of voice and competitive positioning. So I think the challenge here is there are so many different ways to measure brand. It ultimately comes back to what is it that the company wants to achieve at the end of it. Do you want to score high on social? Is that where you see maximum engagement? Or do you want to score high on your CSAT scores because customer service is your top priority? So I think and not all companies implement everything. They focus based on their objectives. So I think it comes back to what is your objective and what is it that you're trying to achieve? And then you look into what metrics should you measure and whether that's leading to that objective, like whether it's helping you reach that objective. So to answer your question, I think there are 10 broad metrics, but I think they're very different and cannot be compared from a data standpoint. It's like comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, and that's the eternal challenge, right? And so when you're trying to have a holistic omni-channel strategy, how do you compare the apples to oranges? It's a good question, and you put it really nicely. So those are my questions for now, Dr. Flynn.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sévigny. So, Minu, I have a couple questions. I wonder if you can take me back to your advice for communicators slide.
Absolutely. 1 second. Did I skip it?
I think you might have skipped it.
Sorry. Yeah.
There it is. Okay. First of all, Very comprehensive paper. 17, professionals in the field that you were able to really ask some really core and revealing information, the information that you've already talked about. Sorry, so there's something blocking it right now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Um, so, and I looked over your discussion guideline that you went through, the questions that you went through them, and then I went through your paper again. Do you remember in 7-Eleven we talked about the integration of public relations and marketing and and how one voice might, yet your paper doesn't mention corporate communications or public relations at all. Not that it has to, but I think at the end of it, I would recommend that this relevance to communicators actually go into your paper, because this is important. This is where it ties it together. But don't you think that that integrated approach might have, so omni-channel is not really omni-channel when it isn't in fact talking about how those brand messages are created, or might in fact solve. On figure 2 you talk about challenges in measuring brand engagement, right? Brand differentiation. So wouldn't do you think that maybe when looking backwards now, it might have been a good idea to be able to ask your participants, so how do you integrate with communications, public relations, professional communications in order to solve some of these issues? Or again, are they just siloized?
Great question. And I think I was anticipating it. We also had this discussion with Julia about how 7-Eleven was like, marketing is bad. It's always PR. I'm just kidding. But great question. So it was very interesting, Terry. I asked each participant, where does marketing sit within your organization? Does it come under sales? Or do you sit with strategic communications or corporate communications? Now, the answers were varied, but interestingly, they do not interact so much with corporate communications, because marketing is so laser focused on sales and getting that lead. They do not, at least from the interviews that I had, corporate communication has a really strong impact, and they sometimes on major projects work together, but corporate communications is so is just in their own different bubble when compared to marketing. At least that was the understanding that I got from the interviewees, because that was one of the questions. I wanted to connect marketing and comms, and I expected that they would say marketing comms sits together. We are under a bigger umbrella, but often they sit with sales, and corporate comms is a separate, entirely different department that takes care of brand. I do agree that corp comms can solve a lot of this issue. But I don't know, the interviewees were so laser focused on sales. I think there was a disconnect there for sure.
Yeah, and predictable, right? Because especially if your audience is more IT focused or consulting focused, they've got. But yet, I think this slide actually brings it all together, right? The challenges that marketing having is because they are too laser focused on traditional means of connecting customer outreach to sales to revenue, when in fact, if you looked at these 10 different things that you could do, they may in fact, bust through some of those barriers that you identified. So well done that way. Okay, we're run out of time. We've got 10 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is put everybody in a breakout room, and then we'll come back. So well done, Minu. Thank you very much. Very enlightening presentation, and we'll be back to you in a couple minutes. Okay.